Introducing Minor Wisdom Quintet.
1, 2, a skidda-didda-doo.
Minor Wisdom.
Want to give a shout out to my Jews out there. Happy Passover to everybody. It is the first day, as I release this, it is the first day of Pesach, and I'm hoping everybody stays away from that bread. You feel, so there are two things with Passover. One, you feel better when you stay away from carbs. It's just something I've noticed. I have a friend that's doing that right now. One of my bestest good friends is doing that right now. And but with Passover, the kind of give and take, if you will, is you feel better because you're not taking in those carbs, but you can't poop when you eat too much matzah. Matzah stops you up. It's, when something is formed into a ball that is dense and delicious, but dense, you've got to think that eventually that's going to come back to bite you in the, well, anyway, enough of the puns. So this week, I have Travis Poe on. Travis, I apologize for that intro, but Travis Poe is on this week from Barbers Hill High School. He's been at Barbers Hill for quite some time, and he is done after this year. So I had to get Travis Poe on at some point, and why not do it now? So during spring break, if you didn't listen last week, during spring break, I interviewed quite a few people. So I'm going to be releasing those interviews over the next few weeks. So some of these interviews are they will become dated. They're not as bad as technology is in, like the day something comes out, the next day it's obsolete. But these interviews, you might hear some things that are said that are talking about one-act play or the status of one-act play, and that might have changed. That status might have changed up to this point. So just keep that in mind over the next few weeks. I did have the opportunity yesterday to finally sit down, quote unquote, because, I was seated and he was seated, but with Justin Simien, the creator and director of Dear White People and Bad Hair. And I had reached out to Justin Simien to get him on an interview of some sort, not necessarily for the podcast, but for our artist spotlight that we were doing last fall in our district. And because of the coronavirus and his filming schedule, we weren't able to do that in that time, but he was gracious enough to come on and get an interview with me. It has nothing really to do with Texas theater other than the fact that we talked about HSPVA and his time there and his education. So I'm going to release that at some point, but I want to give respect to those people, Jackie Kanya, Rachel Maddox, those people that I have already interviewed. Theirs will be coming out rather soon as well. So hope everybody is happy with how your time has been spent in one act play. We are done. Quite a few people are done now because region has kind of been decided for most places. There's still a few by districts that are going to be happening over the next week or so. But congratulations to those people that have made it to region. It's been fun. I don't know if I'm just friends with a lot of directors, but it's been fun to see lots of different directors celebrating their advancing to region, and that's really cool. So good for those people. I'm glad you are doing so. I'm happy for those people that have been able to produce shows, and for those people that haven't, I'm sure you're figuring out something to do on your campus that is enriching for your students. And finally, I wanted to mention the shirts that I've put back on sale. So I have put back Minor Wisdom shirts on sale, and I will put that link in this podcast. I've been tweeting it. I've been Facebooking it. I've been just kind of shooting it out there as much as I can. I can't tell you how much it would mean to me, not only for you to buy a Minor Wisdom shirt, but to understand that part of the $15 proceeds, and yes, I know shipping is not in that $15, and I apologize, but got to keep the shipping alive. But part of that $15 goes to the Michael J. Fox Foundation. And my father had Parkinson's disease. My mother had multiple sclerosis, but I have raised a lot of money for multiple sclerosis, and I never have tried for Parkinson's. So I thought, you know what? I've given my mom her due, well-deserved. Now it's time to move on to Dad. But my mother passed away from complications of multiple sclerosis. It is not proven if my dad passed away from complications of Parkinson's, but one is led to believe that he did, being the way in which he passed away. I'm not going to get into details about it, but just know that it was gruesome. It involved 2 dogs and a quiche of all things. But anyway, I wanted to donate money to his cause and not to his cause, but to raise money to kind of alleviate Parkinson's. And there are people out there that are skeptical about the Michael J. Fox Foundation because just how long he has personally been living with the disease and how well he's done with it. And you know what? I'm not going to ask questions about that stuff. It's the same thing with Magic Johnson and HIV. It's like, these people, good for them for being able to afford maybe ways in which they can continue on in life and still, it's not like Michael J. Fox is doing a bad thing by raising money for alleviating Parkinson's disease. So if you purchase one of those shirts, I want to thank you very much from the bottom of my heart. Quite a few have already done so, and I would very much appreciate it. Hit me up on Twitter, at Mr. Blake Minor, at Minor Wisdom Pod, but I don't really check that one very much. You can friend me on Facebook, shoot me an email if you want, blake.minor@gmail.com, minorwisdompod@gmail.com. I used to have an alias on AOL back in like the late 90s. I think it was called like Lover Babe. I don't think that still exists. But anyway, if you want to hit that up, maybe try it, hack into it if you want. Let me know who's messaged me and slid in my DMs. Anyway, Travis Poe, I appreciate your time. In the middle of this interview, I lost internet connection, so you're going to hear the audio change from Zoom to a phone call. I apologize. I did my very best, but it is what it is. Enjoy this week. Everybody have a wonderful, wonderful week and an end to your March, and happy Passover and happy April Fools.
I went to high school in a little town called Wortham, which is about 45 miles east of Waco. I graduated in a class of 30. And from there, I went to McLennan Community in Waco, where I studied under the late James Henderson, who I credit with a lot of my knowledge of directing. I've had some awesome teachers throughout the many years, but he's where I got my ground plan. Then I went to the University of Texas, graduated there in December of 85. For the spring of 86, at 23, I started teaching at Del Valle just outside of Austin. That's in the location area of the airport now. And crazy enough, I don't know how, but at 23, I took those kids to state as a competition team.
Right. And
while I was at UT, I worked for Lynn Murray in the UIL office as one of his interns. So while I was at Del Valle, I think if I remember correctly, I drove my paperwork for the state contest that spring to his office and went up to see him and left it on his desk. And he said, "Well, how'd you like a big pay raise?" I thought, okay, where am I going? And he sent me here to Barbers Hill for an interview, and I've been here for 35 years. Wow. And this is my last one.
Yeah.
I have my official meeting with TRS on April 9th. Yeah. I've got to fill out that packet now.
Right.
Yeah, that's basically it. I've been here for 35 years.
And so how long did it take for you to become Travis Poe at Barbers Hill?
Oh, when do I felt like I really knew what I was doing? Probably a good 8 years.
Okay.
Yeah. I followed Rick Garcia, who many people know. He was here for 4 years prior to me, and that's a pretty big shoe to fill, in my opinion.
Yeah. So I've had a lot of people on here that say I took over a department that was floundering, that was having issues, and so on and so forth. The kids needed me. It doesn't sound the same for you.
No, he had started the program here and had taken them to state once, and so they were pretty well developed and grounded. What I did have issues with is, he had some students that were left here that were pretty devoted to him, and they remained that way, and that's logical. It happens a lot of times. So I don't know. It's crazy. And
Yeah.
so I started here in the fall of 86, 89. We went to state, but I still didn't know what I was doing. It took a good long time before I really knew how to direct and how to make it all work.
And how many times have you been at state now?
I think 18.
Okay. Do you
One's at Del Valley and the other's here at Barbers Hill.
Right. Do you feel that that you've set the bar too high for yourself, or do you feel like every year you're starting over and it's a new slate, that kind of thing?
It's a juxtaposition of all of those.
Okay.
It's like, okay, how are you going to top it? The next year. But then you just have to start over, and you hope that you have some students that are returning, so that you have a ground plan
Right.
with which to work. But that's not always the case. This year's cast rather is I don't want to say they're young, but of the 14 actors, only 4 of them have had substantial roles in the past,
Right.
and the rest of them may have been in an ensemble or something. But it's a pretty young group of kids.
Right.
So yeah, it's different every year.
Do you have Stuart Savage has a process of choosing a show where he whittles it down to a handful of them and then lets kind of the kids almost sell, they on what show they prefer. Do you have a process, or do you have a...
Basically, my process is I read just like everybody else
Yeah.
does, and I try to find that one aha script that fits the group. I've never put a script before a group of kids to let them decide or to
Right.
pick or to see how things fit. I have a couple of times given them a script and say, let's improv some things here. Let's see how these work.
Right.
And see if they fit within the context of what's going on or what I envision.
Right. And as far as those scripts are concerned, have you repeated any? Have you had any?
Oh, yes, I have. I've repeated Elephant Man twice,
Okay.
Midsummer twice, Caucasian twice, and this year I'm doing my own adaptation of a script called Strider,
Okay.
but it's called Ugly and Majestic. I found it in the public domain on the internet,
Okay.
and so I wrote my own and sent it in and got it approved.
And go
That'll
ahead.
be the third production of this one.
Okay.
But kids always say, "What?" I've got pictures of all my shows hanging around my room. The kids go, "What's your favorite play?" And I said, "I can't go there. I don't have a favorite play,
Yeah.
but I can always say I have a favorite story.
Right.
It's a great story."
So what is it? Go. You can't do that lead in.
Ugly and Majestic is based on a Tolstoy short story called Strider,
Okay.
and it's about a horse and his relationship with a prince whom he deeply loved. And it evolves from his birth through his life of becoming a great racehorse to his becoming a rundown farm workhorse to his ultimate death.
Okay.
So it's just sort of a journey of a life through the eyes of a horse. And no one's wearing horse heads or nor are there 2 bodies in horse costumes or
Right.
anything like that.
Right. Well, Philip Taylor famously did Colstomer, so
Yes.
and so maybe he might have some words on how to do the best horse. I don't know, but yeah.
Yep.
Did you ever do a second version of a show because you didn't feel complete with the first one, or
Yes.
Yeah.
I forgot one. The Awakening of Spring,
Okay.
which is basically Spring Awakening. I've done it twice. And the first one was alternate to state. And there were just things with it. I thought I never got there with
Sure.
what I wanted to do. So I let it pass a few years and then I restaged it again and think I achieved what I wanted to and then went state with it.
Right.
So,
Well,
yeah.
yeah. How many times have you actually won?
5.
Okay. Do you
And
ever?
I think we've placed second or third on 8 other occasions, I think.
One of the things another director told me many years ago, or a couple years ago, is that they took over a school that used to walk into contests not thinking they would advance, and she wanted to change the mindset that they walk in knowing they'll advance. Which one are you?
I'm not about knowing, but I'm all about being very confident, not
Yeah.
cocky, but
Yeah.
confident in what we're doing.
Right.
Yeah, we're a target, I will admit, and a lot of people have told me that.
Yeah.
Our goal is to beat Barbers Hill, and I thought, well, okay, that's fine, but I'm going to do what I've been hired to do and hope
Right.
for the best.
Right.
I always say theater contest is all about wearing, having the right cast with the right script on the right day with the right performance, wearing the right color underwear.
Right.
Hoping the bus gets there. It's a crapshoot. It
Right.
really is. You can work your butt off and work it off, and you never know.
Right. So, switching gears a little bit, you're retiring. My wife would be
Yes.
mad at me if I'd sat here and said you're retiring. What are you looking forward to? What are you going to do?
Well, I'm leaving Barbers Hill, and I'm moving in with my parents in the China Spring area, which is northwest of Waco.
Okay.
They're in their 80s and 70s, and health is not the best.
Right.
So I'm going home to take care of them.
Sure. Okay.
They have 125 acres of wilderness,
Oh, wow. Okay.
and I plan to disappear in it as much as I can.
Right.
I've told everybody my first purchase is going to be a John Deere tractor.
So, like, what do you do on 120? I couldn't even be. I'm a city boy, so I couldn't even begin to think
Well,
about.
ironically or unbelievably, I hunt a little.
Okay.
Our family property borders the North Bosque River, which empties into Lake Waco, and
Okay.
so I fish some, trotline some, and we seem to have. I guess you can say the property at one time, millions of years ago, used to be underwater because there's lots of fossils.
Okay.
And so I look for fossils, and we have found numerous arrowheads and stuff.
Wow.
Maybe I haven't got to do it in a while, but rattlesnake hunt.
Right.
It's
Wow.
just,
That's. I mean.
I know it's such an antithesis to what people think of me, or know of me.
Well.
But
Yeah.
you just disappear.
I-
You trim a lot of cedar, that's for one thing.
I played Oregon Trail. I mean, that's the extent of my, outdoor experience.
Well,
Wow.
I grew up. All of my dad's family are ranchers, or were
Okay.
ranchers. My mother grew up on a ranch, so it's just sort of been in my blood now. Both my parents went into education,
Right.
and excuse me, I say a lot.
No worries.
It's just in my blood. If we had the right kind of acreage, I'd love to go back to ranching.
Right.
Run a few head of cattle, but I don't see that as being an issue.
Do they own cattle? Because I know that's a tax.
They did at one time,
Okay.
and they did it as part of their tax write-off. But their property is certified as a wildlife refuge
Wow.
with the state of Texas. It has property that is conducive to a couple of species of birds for nesting.
Wow.
And so that's sort of the way I understand it. And it's pretty much in its natural state as far as wildflowers go, and weeds and things of that sort. And it's been in the family, the whole family plot. It's been in the family for over 100 years.
Okay.
So yeah.
So I don't mean to keep harping on this, but it's interesting to me. But so if it's in the wildlife refuge, does that mean like game warden come, what kind of human visitors do you get?
We don't. It's not
Okay.
anything like that. It's
Okay.
all private.
Okay.
We do have paperwork that we have to fill out
Okay.
to keep this tax status. But it's a program that the state of Texas has that
Okay.
allows people to keep property as pristine as possible in its natural form.
That's really fun. I married into my father-in-law was a train engineer. The blue and white stripe cap.
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
And so when I found that out from my wife, same response. I was like, "Oh man, cool! Like, so what is it like to, because every little kid wants to at some point thinks that they're going to be a train driver, train engineer.
Exactly.
So it was that kind of like weird childish, like, oh man, that's so neat.
Well,
So-
I didn't have I don't want to say I didn't have a choice, but My mother was a theater speech major in college. My dad's a school administrator. So being in the school setting was what I grew up knowing.
Okay.
Now, my mother didn't teach very long. In fact, funnily, she lasted a semester working for my dad. He had her teach 5th grade, and December she said, "I'm done with them."
Wow.
But she continued on directing the one-act play there in Wortham,
Okay.
and did successfully. She went to state 3 years in a row in the early 70s.
Okay. So is that the bug? I mean, is that your
Yes.
the inheritance, I guess?
Those are some of my earliest memories.
Yeah.
Before Wortham, we were a little town called Star, which is about 70 miles west of Waco.
Okay.
Back then, it's not even open anymore. They played 6-man ball. They had about 25 kids at the max in the high school, and that's where my dad was from.
Okay.
And some of my earliest memories are being at rehearsal with my mom in the gymatorium with no lights, just a stage.
Yeah. Wow. Is she a good critic of yours?
Yeah. Let's just say she has her opinions.
Sure. Has there ever been a show that has done well for you that she did not like, that she saw that she was like, I don't know how in the heck that even survived past round 1?
No, she's never expressed
never.
anything
Okay.
like that to me.
Okay. That would be cool. Yeah.
And she was pretty not insistent, but she really wanted me to redo Strider for this year.
Okay.
Because it's like I said, this is my 3rd time, and the 2 previous times it's won
Okay.
at state. And so I guess I'm doing it for her a little bit, but like I said, it's just my favorite story, and it's a great story to tell when they tell it correctly. At district last week, they didn't tell it so well. We ran 35 and a half.
Yeah.
They didn't play a single moment, but
Yeah.
we've got some time before by district.
Do you have a go-to pre-show thing that you do? Like, some people just eat, and I know Destiny Miller at Bush makes pancakes for kids and things like that. Is there something that you do?
No, I really don't. I'm pretty dull, I guess. I get up and go to contest, and that's about it. The kids do circle, but that's their time. I don't get involved with that.
Right.
And then at the end of circle, I do my last minute talking.
Right.
I handle the vocal warm-ups with the kids to make sure I'm hearing what I want to hear and not what they're just doing. But no, I'm not a stickler for anything. I don't wear the same set of clothes or have the same breakfast or anything like that. I just get up and go, and hopefully I've packed everything.
Okay. So, again, to change the subject just a hair, but because this is kind of always a fun little bit, but what is a Travis Poe guilty pleasure? Like, is there a show that you watch, or is there something that you do that other people might relate to just a little bit?
Well, I just through Snowmageddon and the rest of spring break. We just finished spring break. I finished binge watching again Game of Thrones.
You watched it again?
It was cool. Yes.
Yeah.
I've probably seen the whole thing 3 times.
Okay.
It's cool to watch the process of that show emerge from a beginning process to the end.
Right.
That first season, there were castles and costumes and everything, but you could see the popularity starting to grow and watching the production value increase tremendously. So it was fun to watch. More green screen things were being created. The costumes grew exponentially. Set design was just phenomenal. But that's about it. I watch movies and TV. I live alone, so that's what I do to occupy my time.
So with Game of Thrones, do you think they knew that they had a hit? Do you think they knew they went into it knowing that it was going to blow up the way that?
I doubt anybody can ever predict that.
Sure.
Every actor goes into a process thinking, oh, it's going to be awesome, and you just never know how an audience is going to react to anything. Something along that magnitude, I would think, based just on the popularity of the books, that you would think something would happen, just like the Harry Potter stuff. I mean, how is that not going to be a success?
Yeah, right. Right. Well, that's fun. We are thronies, if you will, in our house as well. So it's one of the few things my wife and I watch together, but I haven't sat down to watch it again. And it might be one of those things that I do. I've never been that kind of person, but I would love to do that with like a Breaking Bad as well. So just to see.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Yeah. Because it's the same idea. It's, I bet at the beginning of their time, they probably didn't foresee the future. Like you said, it's hard to tell, but I would be interested to see it through that lens of what part of this improved production quality wise.
Exactly.
Yeah, was the meth a little more blue, I guess, if you will, but one of those kind of things. That's fun.
Right.
So from your upbringing, from your time kind of living in small town, Barbers Hill, the school is kind of small town-ish, but it's still not exactly, it's not big city, it's not small town, but is there something you miss from? Go ahead.
It's definitely evolved since I've been here. When I started here, we had about 400 kids in high school.
Right.
We now have close to 1,800 in the high school.
Right.
People think we still sort of have a small town feeling.
Right.
Most of the locals feel that way. Some of them do. But we don't. I mean, restaurants have moved in. Fast food restaurants have moved in. We're only 35 miles from downtown Houston. So it's part of the evolution of the metropolitan area. I mean, Houston can't go any further west than the Brazos River, and Katie's blown up, and the Fort Bend, Missouri City area has blown up, and it's storing homes all the way from Houston to Galveston, from Houston to Huntsville. It's just, so this is the only place for it to grow is out here.
Yeah.
I miss that small town mentality when I practically knew everyone in the high school, and with those sadly with a larger population. Certain problems start to escalate or become more prevalent, and
is there something specific you miss about that small town feel, that small town society?
Basically, where not just knowing just the kids in high school, but you go to the post office or you go to the game, go to a football game or basketball game, and everybody sitting there.
Right.
I mean, you practically know everybody, and it's just not that case. I'll go to a basketball game or a volleyball game, and I'll say, I don't know who those kids are, and it's just a little heartbreaking.
Yeah.
I may have one or two out there. You hear names, but it's just not the same.
Yeah.
So
that goes on.
Having grown up like that, it was just it's been a big challenge.
That goes on to again. I know I keep bringing up what other people have said, but that's part of why I love doing this podcast. Is I get information from all types of backgrounds and such. But I forget who said it exactly. But that's being seen at those types of events. Being the theater teacher that does attend a volleyball game and a basketball game, or the big Friday Night Lights football game. Do you put a lot of value into making sure that you're not just stuck in your little world and you come out of the bubble and people know? Go ahead.
Yes, and I will say in the earlier days I was more visible than I am now. But part of the reason being is because we've gotten so much bigger, most of the kids in my production aren't involved in other things so much. So I pretty much have my own group. So I'm not always having to work around basketball or football or things. Now, I still have them on occasion, and we still work around them. But most of my sharing comes with the fine arts people. And so I'm not out and about as much as I am. A lot of people say they know who I am, and I don't know who they are, and which is, I'm not trying to sound conceited or anything, but I just think it's because they come to the shows. We have a very good support here in the community and with the school district. We'll average a good 150 to 250 a night on the show,
right,
on a show. And that may not sound like, but, I sadly last week at a contest that I was hosting, 2 schools had no audience members there whatsoever. And so I made my kids go in there and watch it just so those kids could have an audience.
right. No, good. Yeah, good. That's we used to, as I would tell people, we used to sell out our black box, and it was only 75 seats, but sellout to sellout. Even though it's only 75 people wanting to come see it, but it's always good to have that sort of feeling and telling your kids, hey, we sold out tonight, regardless of if it's 10,000 seats or 75 seats.
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
No, it's not a big deal. So I know you are busy right now. You're literally at school on a Sunday. That's the true Texas theater way. It's like we don't go to church, we go to school. Because even my wife today went to her school and worked on stuff. So it's just what we do. But I want to get you out of here soon because I know you've got some work to do. But I want you to wrap up. You've had, even though you're still only 47, you've had a long illustrious career, and you are
47 as in years of age.
47 as in years of age. Yeah, a cool 47. Yeah, right. Anyway, but I want you to, if there's something, and you don't have to necessarily reveal what you're going to say in May or June, depending on your last day of school, but we get out in June. But I want you to kind of give a Travis Poe word of advice to. I like to think that there are quite a few younger, newer teachers teaching, listening to this podcast. I know I've gotten some feedback from some of those people. So is there something that you would like to leave those up and coming new, fresh teachers? Maybe they're in their second or third. Hopefully they're not in their first, a horrible year to be in your first year, but
right.
But is there some word of advice that Travis Poe can leave them with at this time, to wrap up this pod?
Well, most definitely, don't ever give up on learning. You're never going to know everything. I don't profess to know everything. Always expose yourself to as much art as you can, whether it's visual or performing or musical, performing arts. Expose yourself, because you're going to learn from your surroundings. You're going to learn from experiencing. You can study all the books you want, all the DVDs and YouTube videos, but you've got to get your feet dirty and your hands wet and experience it face to face, hand to hand. Don't ever not love your kids from a distance, regardless of their behavior or their worth of wanting to be in class. Some of them are just there for the credit, but you can still reach out to them and hopefully make a difference in their day or in their life. I have one young man who last week won an All-Star Cast Award. It's his first competition show, and he deals with a lot of internal issues, personal issues, and the look on his face and the joy of his castmates when he got that award was winning enough. And so you've got to find the joy in the smallest of things, and to really appreciate and love what you're doing. It's not about the winning. The winning's just it's just a strawberry on top of a cupcake.
Minor wisdom.